Oh yes, this is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. Today's show is sponsored by Ringmaster, on a mission to launch B2B podcasts that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth. Ringmasterlive.com. Bam. All right, here we go. Here we go. This ride it's taking off. We're leaving the station. We're leaving the airport. Man, I'm gonna have so much fun on this one. Everyone listening the guest and I, we've been dying to have this conversation. And he's here. He is here in the building, or whatever building he's in. And I gotta tell you, he is often called a human key. A key. And if you just think about a room next door full of revenue for your company, he is the guy that goes to that door and unlocks the thing. And how does he do it? With psychology and technology. So this is going to be just one of those really cool episodes where we just dive into how we can use psych and behavioral, people's behaviors to just figure out how to get them to become our customers. Marketing advisor, thought leader, coach. He works with CMOs and VPs of gigantic brands. He's been doing it for 2 decades. Frequent contributor to Adweek, Forbes. We were just chatting. He just launched a piece on Inc. about the metaverse. Host of the Marketing Leaders podcast, president of Parkin Consulting, Tim Parkin. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, Casey. I am stoked to be here. We've been talking about this for a month and a half now. And as you said, just so excited to be on your show, talk with your audience, and share all the things I've learned, all the mistakes I've made. And most importantly, talk about this really big idea that I've seen, which is just that, the key to revenue.
Hold on. First things first.
I'll wait.
I got to pass you this thing. It's heavy. Don't smash that myth without this in your hands. Ugh. Okay, here you go. Can you grab it?
Oh,
Thor's
my
hammer.
Goodness. That's crazy. Let me get
Got
that.
it? Okay. Oh, yeah, you got it.
Oh,
hey,
geez,
so for those
heavy.
not watching, he just literally backhanded Thor's hammer and just grabbed it one-handed like a boss. So, Tim, take Thor's hammer, smash for me some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception. Just set the record straight once and for all.
Yeah, this may shock people, Casey, so I'm not sure they're ready for this.
Oh,
but
shock them. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show, man. They're like, if you don't shock them, they're going to go bounce.
Let's do it. Well, here you go. The key to growth, everyone is striving for growth, for revenue, for higher margins. And we've been looking in the wrong places. We think that we need more customers. We think we need to increase average order value. We think we need the new technologies and AI to save us. And none of that is the key to growth, to transformative growth. The thing is, we need to take marketing and turn it inside out. That if you really want to grow, if you really want to have transformative success, you need to focus internally rather than externally. You need to focus on your team and your processes and your marketing rather than your customers. Dare I say, you need to ignore your customers and forget about your customers before you get this right. Because if you don't, it's going to cost you millions and millions of dollars.
So you just literally said, ignore your customers until you get this part right.
Absolutely. I think so.
That's some shocking words. I think we're all intrigued now. We want to hear this.
Yeah. Your customers are often, customers are heralded as this supplier of all of our revenue and all of our income, right? And the reality is you can't serve your customers. You can't understand your customers. You can't market to your customers until you have your house in order. And as you mentioned, I work with huge companies, and you would be shocked. You think from the outset that they have big teams and big budgets and they've figured it all out. No one has figured this out. And so you really have to get your house in order and have your team and your processes be in a place where they can be repeatable and predictable. And that's the key to marketing. Marketing is not some magic or science. It's more of a process than anything else. And I can't tell you how many times I've been into a company, whether it's a startup or an enterprise level company, and it's just absolute chaos. And the lack of consistency and predictability and clarity within the team, within their approach, within their strategy, within their processes is absolutely missing. And so this is, I think, an epidemic in our industry. And it's something that people are not talking about because there's this constant focus on being customer centric and all this buzzword nonsense. We need to stop that, and we need to fix the root cause here.
Yeah, there is a lot of the buzzword stuff out there. I cringe every time I see it. A lot of fellow marketers are like on the yippee bandwagon on LinkedIn, just supporting each other. And just part of me is just like, yeah, but that's kind of buzzy. I don't really feel like sharing that. It's a distraction. There's so many distractions. And I hear you on the big companies. All you have to do is sort of work with one of them to realize, yeah, they don't have, it's not like they magically figured something out and they're good, but all the small companies haven't quite. No, there's some big problems there too. And I think the quote that I love you just said that I wrote down was that the key to marketing isn't magic or science, it's process. And I think if I was to frame a quote of what you said on the show, like that's the thing, like it's process. I can't wait to dive into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you on a daily basis, I'm dealing with companies that have all sorts of issues, and it always comes back to process. There wasn't a process, or there was and it wasn't followed, or the process wasn't clearly defined or documented or understood. It always comes back to being a process issue. And even companies that want to innovate and push further, it's because they need to develop new processes that will help them to do that, that will help them develop new habits and ensure that new things take place. And so everything points back to process. And that is the key to unlocking true growth. Is the formula for performance is people plus process equals performance. And you can have great people, but if you have no process or terrible processes that aren't followed, you're never going to reach peak performance. And so you have to have the right people, excellent people who are highly skilled, and you have to have solid, repeatable, consistent, documented processes that will take you there.
How do you know if you have that? I can imagine people listening thinking, I probably don't, but help me confirm if I do or don't have solid process.
Yeah, there's a couple ways you can tell. I mean, the first is if you think every day is different and unpredictable, then right away, you don't have enough process in place. And so looking for signs like that, or something goes wrong, or someone doesn't know what to do, or something didn't get followed. I'll give you a tangible example. One of my clients had a security issue. It wasn't their fault, but it was an industry-wide security issue. And they had to put out some crisis communication. Marketing was obviously involved. No one knew what to do. And no one knew how to decide if this is a really big issue, who should be involved, how should we communicate, what should we communicate, who should be involved in that communication. So that's a great example of right there. You say, this is an issue. We need to fix it, and we need to fix it for next time because it's going to happen again.
Now, I mean, but to be on kind of devil's advocate on that, maybe that's something that doesn't happen very often. Security issue, or did it there at that company?
Yeah, the security issue hasn't happened, but there will be other issues like that. And so anytime something unexpected happens, and that's an extreme example, you want to make sure you create a process around it. Certainly, very few things happen once and only once. And so there will be another type of issue that needs crisis communication. It may not be a security issue. It may be a personnel issue. It may be a company issue, something of that effect. But you need to put that process in place. And I think a lot of times process sounds too formal than it really is.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of dictating and writing down, here's who needs to be involved, and here's the steps we'll take to do this. So you can pull it up when you need to and say, we have a plan, and now we can follow that. You don't need some software for this necessarily. You don't need any complicated system. You just have to decide and write this down, what's going to happen and who needs to be involved.
That's so helpful because, I think there's words that just can mean scary things. Process just feels scary, I think, to a lot of us. But when you boil it down to, okay, who should be there, who should be involved, and what actions are we going to take? I can handle that.
It's true, right? Yeah, it doesn't have to be hard. And as marketers, especially, we tend to make things a lot harder than they should be. Yeah. And there's a great book out, called the Checklist Manifesto. It's very old, but it talks about how people had checklists and they followed them. If you think about surgeries or airline pilots, they follow a checklist, and there's a reason they do that. They know what to do. They've done it hundreds and thousands of times, but the checklist helps keep them honest and helps make sure that everything is followed. All the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. And that's really important. And so that's really what process is about, is how can we make this repeatable? How can we make it consistent? And how can we make sure that the communication flows out of that so that everyone knows what's going on? I think alongside process, one of the other issues, the biggest issues in marketing teams, is a lack of communication. Collaboration, communication. It's even more difficult now with remote teams. Many companies are not familiar with how to manage that, how to navigate that, how to communicate remotely or asynchronously. So communication is another part of process, that you have to have a process of communication.
Got it. Who's involved? What steps we're going to take, and how are we going to communicate it? And I can see now, to the point about maybe you're not going to have a security issue happen that often. So maybe that caught you off guard, but that fits under the category of an oh shit crisis communication type moment.
Totally.
And of any kind of moments you should plan for, you should probably plan for those. So having a loose plan of who needs to be involved, like when this seems like a bad thing, who should be involved? What are we going to do? Whatever, and even if you need to adjust that plan, at least you have a starting point and you're not running around everyone being like, oh no, what do we do? Adding to the crisis.
Totally. Yeah. And it gets even more complicated. A lot of my clients have multiple agencies, PR agencies and things of the like, sure, in multiple markets, so North America, EMEA, Asia Pacific, et cetera. So coordinating all those people and figuring out who needs to be involved, making sure we're not stepping on each other's toes, it becomes a nightmare and a mess. And so if you want to, really make sure you're on the same page, align your team, this is really important, not just for crises, but for anything else, any other information you're putting out there, your social media strategy, your sales team. There's so many areas where you have to have process. And shockingly, many companies don't, many marketing teams don't.
Yeah, they just don't have that. So where do I start? Is there like a ground zero? Is there a starting point? I'm thinking like Candyland or Chutes and Ladders. What is the go spot? Where do I start? Because I assume my process is, I think probably everyone listening think every day does kind of feel like a different day. Where do I start with process?
Yeah, step 0 is really a responsibility matrix, which is listing out who is everyone on your team and what are they responsible for? What's their domain of ownership? And this is often referred to as a RACI matrix, RACI. And you basically outline, here's everyone, here's all the stuff we're doing, and now let's assign people to the stuff we're doing. And the RACI, RACI, stands for different types of involvement. So someone could be responsible for something, or accountable for something, or consulted on something, or informed about something. And so when you start to map out this RACI matrix, you can see, here's all the stuff we're doing, here's all the people we have, and here's where and when they're involved. That's the foundation for understanding, okay, now we know who's the players are and where they need to be involved. Now what's the process we need to put in place based on each of those items?
Got it. So at least knowing the people on the team, who should be consulted, that just gives you a framework to understand when it comes to taking action, who's probably going to be taking action and who needs to be in a communication loop, to your point.
Right. And when you map this out, you see instantly a couple of really interesting things. One of those being, you'll find people who are not involved when they should be. And so you need to adjust that, you need to fix that. But also you'll find people who are involved in everything. And I'm sure listeners right now can imagine people on their team, maybe it's them, who are involved in way too many things they shouldn't be. And this is one of the most common issues I see when working with teams of any size is there's someone who has, by their own volition or otherwise, taken over control of far too much stuff. And marketing in general, as an industry, we have too many responsibilities. We get thrown stuff over the fence and say, do this and do that. So we don't have time for it. And so you have to identify these people who are overwhelmed, overloaded, involved in too many things, and then fix that. And that's usually where we start.
Yeah, I love that, because so much about marketing is prioritization, and you can't do everything because we cover everything. You can't do it all right now. So what's the rock this quarter? What's the priority? What's the goal? And half of that is, what am I accountable to? Like, what do I own here? And what's the key metric I need to move? I remember working with one marketing team, and here we are really focused on trying to get their lead numbers and their sales process so that, sales could actually be calling people. They didn't really have that. So we're trying to build that from scratch. And then out comes a request from left field saying, hey, we need to do this video about this holiday in some other geo that we want to get all the people together and do this like real complicated video about this holiday that the customers certainly didn't care about, but like, I was just like, oh no, who owns this? Does marketing have to own this? Do we have to have this and not be involved in too much like you're describing? Wow.
It's so common. Yeah. And I love that you said about prioritizing, because I'm always telling my clients, you have to prioritize ruthlessly. You have to be brutal about this. You can't be like, well, we have these priorities and those priorities. No, you have to say, this is our sole priority. And so another framework on top of RACI is OKRs, which I'm a huge fan of, and I get all my clients on, and that stands for objectives and key results for the listeners.
You know what? And, I've heard about OKRs a lot. I don't know if I've ever done like a real understanding, learning dive into it. So maybe you could just teach me like a baby, like a caveman with a hat on.
Yeah.
And
totally.
let's do OKRs.
Yeah, it was created by IBM, and now companies like Google use it, and it's really effective because it's just so simple. Objectives and key results are the two components. So you have objectives and you have key results. And it's a way to align your team and also keep everyone focused on your goals. And so you define a couple of objectives. Again, you have to prioritize here. So you need to have a few. I would say 4 is enough, but less than that is better. And so an objective is a strategic goal or aim. And so it's not something tangible. So for example, it would be establishing yourself as a leader in the North American market. That's an objective. You can't really measure that, and that's intentional. Underneath the objective, you have 3 typically supporting key results. Those are measurable, and so you might say, in order to reach our objective, we need to open 20 new accounts, increase revenue by X, something very measurable that you can count.
Sure.
And so then now your team can take those key results and develop their plans and their tactics and their activities based around how do we move the needle on those key results. And the thought process of OKRs is that if you accomplish your key results, you will accomplish your objective. And so those things roll up together. But one level beyond that, then you can stack objectives. So you can have a corporate objective and you can have a marketing department objectives. And then underneath that, you could have individual objectives. So you can use this for your team to say, here's how I want our team to improve, organizationally. Here's how I want John and Susan to improve individually, and they can have their own key results. So it's a really great hierarchy of alignment and performance and just measurement. So it's really effective and really simple, which I think is the most important part.
Yeah, it is simple. That makes total sense. I like the idea of some things you can track and some things that kind of just ethereal. What would be a good key result that would help you establish that? You mentioned like be the leader in North America or whatnot. What kind of a key result would you use to help you get there?
Yeah, there's a couple. So one, like I mentioned, would be landing new accounts. So if you could penetrate more of the market, that would demonstrate that you're a leader. Another might be, more press coverage. And so, we want to have, 30 press coverages in major outlets, this year. And so that would be another obvious key result. Another could be, more partnerships, because that would lead to us becoming well-connected and, more established, et cetera. So we want to, acquire 7 new key partnerships. So those are all examples of types of key metrics, but then key results. But you can see from that, now we know what to do. Well, how do we get more partnerships and how do we get more press coverage? So it very clearly guides you and the team on what's important, and you're working towards a strategic objective by following those key results.
I love that. So that's another great example of how to do it.
Yeah, it's simple, but the hard part is in the execution. None of this stuff is complicated. The hard part is getting the people aligned and keeping them accountable and honest about doing this. And I think transparency is paramount here. You have to let the team see what's going on, but also you have to set really good expectations, with the team of what's expected of them and from them. And like I said, you have to hold them accountable. That's the hardest part.
Right. Okay. And if I do this, then I'm free to then go after my customers and do the marketing we talked about at the very top.
Not yet.
God.
Because there's another component, and that other component is the skills of your team. Okay. I'm constantly talking to clients who their team is just underskilled for what they're trying to do. And you're going to, throw bad money over good trying to market to your customer when you don't have the skills that you need. And so it's really important to make sure your team has the skills that they need. Marketing, the one thing marketing does is it changes every single day almost. And so if you're not up to date on the latest features of the platforms or tactics or whatever, you're going to be wasting your time and wasting your money. And so I can't tell you how many millions of dollars I've seen just completely wasted on tragic marketing that, something wasn't configured right, the targeting was wrong, the message made no sense. I mean, there's so many problems and issues. So you really have to make sure your team is up to snuff. And oftentimes executives think, well, I hired someone who has a lot of experience or someone's really smart. That doesn't mean anything. What matters is their skills on the front lines. Can they actually do this? So don't get, confused by that. You really need to have someone make sure that your team is up to snuff, and also be providing your team with ongoing training and access to supporting materials and the latest stuff. Get them in a community of marketers, do what you need to do to get them the right skills, because otherwise you're just wasting your time and money.
Got it. Is there a matrix I should be filling out related to skills?
There's a lot of ways to go about it, but I would say, marketing keeps changing. And so that's the hard thing to measure.
Yeah.
And, my clients often hire me to help train their teams. And one of the things we've done is we use internal people of the team to help train the rest of the team. And that cross-pollination is extremely powerful. In programming, and we can talk about programming, I know our background here, but there's a thing called pair programming, where one person doesn't sit down and write code. You have two people working on one computer writing code. And everyone always says that's stupid, it's a waste of money, it's a waste of time. But a magical thing happens when you do that is both people learn the problem they're trying to solve. You have two heads solving the problem, so you solve it faster. You're able to figure out more issues and prevent obstacles and errors because both people are thinking ahead and balancing each other. And so we need to do that in marketing too. We can't have product marketing and field marketing and whatever. We need to have marketers that are all working together and all aligned, just like how we are trying to align marketing and sales. And the more you can cross-pollinate your team, the more they can all understand and share knowledge. That's extremely powerful. And so I have all my clients create what I call a book of knowledge, which is a giant library of everything everybody knows. And it takes time to build that up. But when we run experiments or tests, the insights from that go into that book of knowledge. When we document new processes, when we have wins from a campaign, when we do something that doesn't work, all that goes into the book of knowledge. And so now we have this extremely valuable resource where everyone can see, what have we done? What have we learned? What can we do next time? And it's just a resource that grows and grows and grows and helps the team understand and share and collaborate much better.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The idea of if you're going to learn it once, store that in a book of knowledge. We've adopted Notion. Have you heard of Notion?
I love Notion. I'll
tell
you, I was on Trello. I was on Trello for years, and I had so much Trello Gold from recommending Trello to my clients and getting them on there. I had Trello Gold free for 5 years.
Yeah.
But I switched to Notion, and I am just in love with Notion. I get all my clients on Notion. It is amazing. I'm so glad to hear that because Notion is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and you're not on Notion, go right now and get Notion. You will not regret it.
How do you even describe that experience though? Because it doesn't, definitely replaces Google Docs in terms of knowledge storing in a hierarchy of Google file folders or God forbid you're on Microsoft,
Oh yeah. My clients are on Teams and OneNote and all that and SharePoint.
Do you charge extra for the clients that have SharePoint?
This is a great idea, Casey. I really should.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'll give you a commission. That's brilliant.
Thank you. And I'll bring the drinks over to help commiserate with you.
That's amazing. Oh, I hate it so much. Yeah, but Notion is amazing. Yeah, for anybody who hasn't been on Notion, Notion is very much like Google Docs, but it's very visual, clean, minimalistic, easy to use, but also the depth. You can create any kind of setup you want. So, for example, personally, I use Notion for myself to track invoices, to track finances, to track to-do lists, to track ideas, what I've watched, books I'm reading. But for my clients, I have lots of different types of clients, and some of them use it for project tracking, issue tracking, experiments, results, documents, meetings. It has templates. There's so much we could go on and talk about Notion, but if you're not using it, you have to be using Notion. Get out of whatever you're using because Notion is way better, way more flexible, and it'll make you happy to use it.
Yeah, you have this blank sheet, but what's amazing about it is you hit little slash, and then you can basically create any kind of content there, whether it's an ordered list or whether it's an insert or a toggle list or a table that links to other, like anything you want, slash or emoji, boom, you can create it. So it's this very smart page. And I'm starting to see, I think Google Docs started to add this, where if you see a little slash in there, all responds to Notion. And I feel like Microsoft's trying to address that too. And I feel like poor Notion probably has to get purchased by someone so that they can stay alive, because everyone else is just going to try to eat their lunch. But man, have they figured it out.
They have definitely figured it out. Yeah. And you're right. The interconnectivity, you can link pages to other pages. You can organize documents and files and sections. People can collaborate. You can invite external guests and give them limited permissions. With my clients, when I'm on a team, we have a team Notion, but then, the executives will have a private page where just we can keep notes and, talk about sensitive things. So there's just so many opportunities in Notion, and it's just a great place to collaborate. So yeah, I think, like I said, if you're not on Notion, get on Notion. You're missing the boat here.
Yeah, shout out to that team. This podcast now sponsored by really though it's not, but it should be. We use it as our internal wiki. We and a startup I was working with was using it too, and it's like, man, they have an all team. And the thing is, the folders are the pages themselves. So if you're trying to nest a bunch of folders in Google Drive or Microsoft, the folders are simply that, folders. But if you think about, it's like having nested pages. The pages themselves can have pages inside them, so the folders are pages too. And that just cuts down on having a bunch of empty file folders diving deep. You maybe only need a couple layers because the folder themselves are pages and can have data and collaboration. So good.
Just to tie it back to the process here for teams, one of the things that's valuable about Notion is every person or every, function of the team can have their own kind of dashboard page, which links to whatever they need. So, some of my clients will have, for example, like an interactive department or creative department, and they'll have their own area, but other people can still look at it and access it, but they can create it, just what they need. And they can share all these documents, share all these pages that you're talking about. So in terms of creating just what that function needs or just what an individual needs, that's where some of the value really shines, because, depending if your team is 3 people or if it's 300 people, it can support that and you can have a customized view. And so from a process perspective, it's invaluable that we can create a process, create pages and documents and tables, but now everyone can use it in the way that they need to see it and the way they need to use it. So if Casey, if you update something, then I can see it on my side in my own view, in my own way that I need to see it. So it's just wonderful for sharing and collaborating. It makes everything, as you said, so much easier.
And to your point, the process now is not hidden in some dark alley. It's visible to everyone in the whole company. And so if you're collaborating with that department, you can learn how they're operating before even diving into it. Or a new person can just go read all the processes. And I think, to your point, it brings processes out of, it brings them to the forethought, right? Like they become part of your active thinking where they should be, not like something you did for homework that you're never going to look at again.
It's so true. Yeah. We actually have a culture section and an onboarding section usually. Nice. And so like you said, when someone comes on, they just go through that. And it's got a whole checklist of like, here's who you need to meet with. Here's all the documents. Here's how we operate. Here's all our processes. We record videos even that like walk them through different things. And we put those videos in the Notion pages. So it's like a whole playbook of, now we don't have to worry about onboarding someone because the whole thing's a process. And we just say, create a new, template for them. Boom, put your name in. Now go do it. It's incredible.
So good. So good. Now, if I've thought about the skills of the people, I've done my OKRs, and I've got my RACI matrices built, my step 0, my responsibilities. Now am I free to fly about the country and do marketing, or is there anything else I need to do?
Those are the main things that you need to focus on. So you can start to focus on customers, but there's a trap here, which is this isn't a one and done process, right? Every time you hire someone, every time you grow, you need to keep on top of this. And the reality is, when you think about the processes that you have, if you were to just think here and enumerate them and list them out, you may think there's maybe 20, 30, 50, I don't know, but there's probably like 10 times that amount if you really got into the weeds and figured this out. So there's a lot of work here. So it's not that you can do this in 30 days and be done. This is an ongoing process that will never end in terms of how can we continue to optimize and tweak those processes. And so it's creating new processes as you find that, but then, as I just mentioned, tweaking and optimizing the processes that you have, because there's a lot of waste still. And again, many executives I talk to, complain about our budget cuts, we need more budget. We have to prove our ROI. You have plenty of budget. Trust me, you're wasting it because your team is not effective, because you don't have a repeatable, consistent process, and your team isn't upskilled enough to use that budget wisely. So I think rather than focusing on the end of the process in terms of, our performance externally, I challenge you to look internally, look inside, because there's a ton of waste and opportunity for growth there that will trickle down to the results you're seeing or not seeing.
Wow. Normally people start with the shots fired, dropping the mics, and then you have to replace the mic. By the way, never drop an actual mic. That's just,
it's heavy.
It's heavy and they're expensive. And then now the DJ's pissed at you. Someone did it on a cruise one time. They're like, oh, I just did karaoke and he dropped the mic and he broke it. And everyone's like, okay, so
now what? Yeah.
Yeah. So now who gets to do? Yeah. Don't do that. Don't actually drop the mic. But you dropped the mic just now. So not just at the beginning, but here you have enough budget. You're just probably not using it. Now I don't know which quote to use. That's an awesome quote right there, man. You have the budget. You're probably just wasting it. And wrong processes, no processes, there's gaps, I'm sure, or the wrong people or the unskilled people on the team to be able to handle that situation. Yeah. So fix those things and you'll probably do just great with that budget.
Yeah, I mean, I can't name names here, but I'll tell you, one of my clients.
Oh, name some names. Was it rhyme with? Was it rhyme with?
I can't tell you that.
Does it rhyme with Smoogle? Does it rhyme with Smoogle?
I'd love to hear you rhyme more. Yeah. Well, Spotify, man, they're going through hell right now. And that's a whole different conversation. But
that is
one of my clients, they'll blow 10 grand in a day and not even blink an eye. Yeah. And that's money that they shouldn't have wasted, that could have been really valuable to them. And so it's things like that. So it's not just having the process, but the attitude that like, oh, it was 10 grand, no big deal. They need to realize that that's an issue. That's a process issue. That why did that happen? And whether you're a startup or an enterprise level company, every dollar counts, and every dollar, especially in marketing, should be contributing to your bottom line in some way, or at least moving you forward in some way. And so to have this cavalier attitude that, oh, we can't fix it, or, well, we have the best people we have, or, well, process can wait. It cannot wait. This is urgent. And like I said, if you're worried about your performance, if you want to get real growth, I mean, this year is going to be a year of massive growth. If you look at the economy, from 2021, a 5.7% economic growth, I think it was the highest in 48 years or something like that. It's insane. So, we really need to focus on growth here, and you have to be persistent about this, that the key to that is having a real process and following it.
Okay. I've got a racy question for you. This is the RACI version of that question. Who owns this? Who's responsible for setting up the racing in the first place, for starting to document processes? Who is accountable to this? Who owns this?
It's a great question. The honest answer is me. It's usually why I'm brought in, is because they have nobody to do this. But if you have someone to do this, it would be typically the chief of staff, that level person, or head of marketing operations, someone of that degree. But you need someone who is responsible for people, and someone who is responsible for coordinating, the activities of marketing. So if you're a VP and you have a big team, if you're a CMO, you can take ownership of this, but it helps to have someone who can be dedicated to this, because it's a lot of grunt work and it's a lot of figuring it out and talking to people. And often when I'm brought into a company, one of the first things I do is I talk to everybody. I go around and have a conversation with everybody, understand who they are, what they think they do, what their job description is, and then how they fit in and what they're actually doing. Because those two things couldn't be further from reality, what they think they do and what their job says and what they're actually, doing on a day-to-day basis. And so that's where, having someone who works with these people and understands them on a daily basis is typically the right person to do it. And often, the CMO or even a VP is too far removed to actually map this out. I mean, they have ownership of it, if you want to call it that, but they're not the one doing it because they don't have all the answers.
And who's actually the one doing it on a RACI matrix?
Yeah, typically you have a chief of staff, or if you have a project manager type person, or marketing operations, director, head of marketing operations, someone like that would own this and do it and help, facilitate those conversations. And typically I have the team help me build this so the team themselves can contribute. But again, you have to challenge that because their version of the truth is not the actual truth. Got
it. By the way, killer answer for that one. I'm like, who owns this? And you're like, me. I was like, oh man, it's like some sort of like figurative thing of like, if you're listening to this, say me right now. And that means you own this process. We all own this together. But then you're like, no, actually it's me, Tim Parkin, because that's why I can pay the big bucks, because every organization's like, we're all maxed out. We don't have any time. We need someone to come in and do it. Totally makes sense that it's you. But I gotta wonder if it's probably a little bit everyone's responsibility to think about the process as you scale a company.
Yeah. And there's often an education aspect there. You're right that, we have to say, look, we all can't do everything and we all don't want to step each other's toes. So how do we approach this in a reasonable, sensible way? And also, how do we respect each other? We're a team. And if we're going to act like a team, then we have to know you do this, I do that, and I leave you alone when it comes to this type of work. So absolutely, education is a big part of it.
Love that. How do we respect each other as a team? Not step on toes. Process is great for that. If you can just map it out, everyone's on the same page. Alignment, sales, marketing, understanding. The process is clear, then you guys know what each other's doing. It's when you have little black boxes and no one understands the magic going on in the marketing world. That's when we get in trouble.
Totally. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, totally, man. So this is good stuff. So much here. I'm sure people's heads are blowing up. You mentioned a book earlier. I think that was in a positive light. The Checklist Manifesto. Is that something that folks should check out?
Totally. I think it's a really great book. Like I said, it's older and you can get the gist of it from reading the back cover, use checklists, but it goes into a lot of history about the checklist and where it came from and why you should use it. Stories of, surgeries gone wrong because people didn't follow a checklist because they thought they were above a checklist. Like I mentioned, airline pilots use checklists. The process of adding a checklist to everything you do sounds boring and simple and oversimplified, but it is transformative. And if you actually do it, if you read the book, if you apply it, it'll change your business. I guarantee it.
It's funny. It's all on the back cover, but it's like, it's because we know.
We know, but we don't do.
Yep. But we just don't do it, right? We know it, we just don't do it. So you just need a book worth of stories of people screwing it up royally to just, well, it's not surgery, but I should probably build a checklist for that. Yeah, you should. You probably should. Love that. Any other books that are kind of hot in your mind right now or you like to recommend?
I'll tell you my favorite book of all time, which I've bought for so many people because I say, and I won't make the offer here on the podcast, but in person, I tell people, if you want, I'll buy you a copy of it. And that book is called Do It Tomorrow and Other Secrets of Time Management by Mark Forrester. And it's a book on time management, but I think it has a lot of applications to management, to business, personally, professionally. There's a quote at the beginning of the book that says, to complain about a lack of time is like a fish complaining about a lack of water, a fish in the ocean complaining about a lack of water. We have all the time that we need. And I think in marketing, this is a huge problem too, that we feel like there's so many requests, there's so much we have to do, we don't have the time for it. But if you read this book, I can easily say it's changed my perspective on time management and how I approach things. And there's so many great practical examples and exercises and just a real, raw, honest look at managing yourself and other people and teams and projects. And we all need that. So my favorite book of all time, easily.
Man, killer. Okay, I just pulled it up. You got me sold on that. Damn. Are you an Audible guy? Are you reading things? Does this thing have diagrams? You think we're
I can't do Audible for some reason. When I work, I can't really listen to music unless I'm doing some mind-numbing task. So, typically I can't really listen to stuff, but I listen to rainymood.com. That's what I listen to, which is just rain sounds.
Oh yeah. Actually
getting real here. Yeah. There's a behind the scenes secret. Yeah. Rainymood.com is amazing. I love rain. I live in Orlando, Florida. And so, we get rain in the summer every afternoon, but beyond that, not too much unless there's a hurricane. But that's what puts me in the productive mood is the noise of rain.
Okay. And that's on mood.com?
Rainymood.com.
Rain. Oh, it has its own website.
Yeah.
Holy crap. And by the way, all these URLs for everyone listening are going to go right in the show notes. So you can just pull up your phone and click on it. You don't have to type it in your browser.
But one more book, Casey, while we're on books.
Yeah, please do. Say, I'm looking up the Rainy Mood while you say it.
Nice. Steve Krug wrote a book called Don't Make Me Think. And it's a book on usability. And the examples, it's been updated now, I believe, but the examples are Amazon.com from, the 90s. But the book itself and the principles in the book are, I think, essential for marketers today still. And it's all about simplification and making things easy for users. And it's a lot about user experience. But I think, again, it transcends that if you read between the lines. Wonderful book, extremely visual, easy to consume. You can read it on an airplane. And just a book that I've cherished for years. And I think still to this day, I see examples of people not listening to it, not following it. So be sure to pick up a copy of that. Can't recommend it enough.
Man, I can only make guesses at where it goes with that. Oh, there's a revisited one too. So
there is, yeah. And he has a second one.
Is it good?
Rocket Surgery Made Easy, which is about doing usability testing, which I think is another thing that is kind of a lost art in the marketing world or just ignored.
Oh, wow.
Definitely should check out both.
Rocket Surgery Made Easy. Gotta love those awesome titles.
So good.
Don't Make Me Think. Killer. Okay, and I found the rainy mood. You can literally just hit play on this thing.
You just hit play. It's so simple. Yeah, but it's so wonderful.
Oh yeah, there it is. There it is. And it just rains. It just constant.
Just constant. Yeah.
Man, I feel like that's some sort of power move. I'm gonna bookmark that.
Nice.
Good stuff, right? This is real talk. This is real talk right now.
It is.
This is how we get to the real parts. Tell me, what are you seeing? Because you're so attached to companies that are making these changes and seeing it live. Do you see anything around the corner? Anything out in the future? Changes that are happening either at a macro or micro scale that you're excited about? Kind of give us a little fortune telling.
I am so excited. There's so much happening, and one of the biggest things I'm seeing, I've seen it, with my wife and her account, but also just in general, even B2B, is influencers. And influencers sounds like the dumbest thing to talk about. We all know influencers and have been using influencers in our marketing, but it's only going to grow even more. And B2C has been overrun by influencers, and you can find all sorts of partnerships and deals and things like that. But I think we need to think seriously about influencers and taking it to the next level, because what you see today is that influencers understand your audience better than you do, and they understand the tactics to use to reach that audience and connect with them better than you do, and they can do it more effectively. And so if you're not working with influencers, you need to be. But more importantly, I think companies need to be thinking about hiring influencers. And I mean acquiring them, essentially. Hire them full-time to work for you and let them still do their own thing on the side or part-time or whatever it takes. Because these people, I think some of these influencers could be CMOs of companies and run the company better from a marketing perspective. That's how powerful I think some of these influencers are. They just have the pulse on the audience and the tactics and the platforms, and they're just absolutely killing it. And even in B2B, we're seeing more B2B influencers. This is not a taboo thing. So if you're not paying attention to influencers, you need to be. And if you're not developing real, authentic partnerships, not just paying them to post, develop real partnerships, include them in the process, make them someone who's a part of your brand, a part of every activity you do, really embed them in your organization. This is key. It is the cheapest, most effective way to drive real results from a tactical perspective. And it's just complete missed opportunity right now for most people.
Man, so interesting you bring up influencers. Yeah, this is a really cool topic. And you're right. It is so futuristic. It is actually here now. And it's funny. I'm drinking one of these Bang energy drinks. Have you seen these?
I have. Yeah.
Have you ever tried one?
No, I haven't.
What?
Bro, I got to try it.
Bro, you haven't tried a Bang energy drink?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay. The only reason I'm drinking this is because I was on Instagram and there's this cool guy named Destroying. Do you know him?
I don't know.
You know? Okay. Destroying. He was like a football kicker in college. And I think he kind of made some mistakes, got kicked off a team, lost a scholarship, and then was working really hard to get it back. Right. And now is like he's trying to get on an NFL team, but he's like a kicker. And he's really good at Instagram, man, and making and YouTube videos and everything. And he's just like a cool guy. He's like a really cool guy. And he's got some cool phrases. And man, he was drinking this Bang energy drink, being like, bam, and this, and nice. he was like, hey, shop it over at blah, 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 Destroying shop here, there. And I tweeted him the other day and also Bang, just say, by the way, the only reason this like 40-year-old guy is drinking Bang energy drink is because Destroying was drinking it. I thought maybe I'll be a little bit as cool as he is. No, I just wanted to try, see what it tasted like. Not bad.
Nice.
You should totally try Bang energy drink. I recommend this Rainbow Unicorn as a flavor to try out.
This is sponsored by Notion and Bang Energy now.
Yeah, Bang. Yeah. Hey, everyone, shop my store over at blah, blah, blah.com. But yeah, man, influencers on the B2C side, they're they've got shops, they've got coupon codes, things are happening. You got Mr. Beast out there. But you're right, on the B2B side, there's so much opportunity.
Yeah, one of my clients actually just launched a video series, kind of a show, and they're working with an influencer who's kind of the host of the show. And it's brilliant because, the host, the influencer, is doing a lot of the legwork of the video editing. You want to drop some names?
You want to drop some like kudos to them, or
I would love to, but I'll withhold here
on the DL. Okay, what's it rhyme with? Does it rime with Yoast? What does it rhyme with?
Oh, I love all these rhymes. You're so creative. But the influencer is the host and does a lot of the legwork, a lot of the work here, the editing and the production. And then they get the connections, most importantly, that this influencer has. They're a well-recognized person in this industry.
Yeah.
And so now the fact that they're hosting the show for my client makes my client instantly someone to know, someone to pay attention to. And then the distribution of the show, the influencer is helping promote, obviously. So it gets way more traction, way more visibility. So this is what I'm saying about influencers. Companies waste so much money on their own marketing, trying to do it themselves when they don't realize, I call it customer proximity. Whoever's closest to the customer wins. And the people who are closest to your customers are the influencers, not you. And so that's why if you can work with them, partner with them, or even buy them, acquire them, you can become closer to the customer. And the second part of that is one of my other clients is in the pet industry. And I love meeting with them because they all have pets, obviously. And so we get on a Zoom meeting, or they're on Teams, unfortunately. You get on a Teams meeting, they all have their pets. You can see different pets there. It's really cool. But the interesting thing is they are their own customers. I like to say they eat their own dog food, being in the pet industry. And so that's the key, because if they develop a new product, if they do marketing, they're the customer. They can say, that would resonate with me. I would like that. That's what you need. And so hire people who are your customers, or hire or work with, partner with influencers, because those are two really easy ways to get closer to your customer. And again, whoever's closest to the customer wins, and you have to have that proximity.
Love that, man. Close to the customer wins. I don't know if this is one of your clients, but one of the things I saw just recently was, do you know about Alice? You heard of those guys?
No.
Cool company. Founder was on the show, killer marketing team. And some of the people I've interviewed in the past on this show all now work there. I'm not going to say it's all me, but maybe
it is.
Yeah, but they're cool. What they do is they do gifting. So if you want to hook someone up with a gift,
nice,
you can shoot this thing over. I've seen companies do that, but the problem is if you do it wrong with some of the other products I've seen, like here's a origami set, from this big SaaS startup, and you're like, I don't really, or here's a coffee set, and you like, don't drink coffee because you gave it up. You're like, okay, or I guess I can just donate it to charity. But what Alice does is they let you go, can I pick something else? And yes, you can. And they have like 1,000 other things you can choose from. So when a really cool company gifted me something, I didn't want the USB charger or whatever. So I shopped around. I found this really nice Patagonia warm hat that I could wear. I was like, absolutely, that is something I'm going to be thankful for. And I shot the salesperson a note. Hey, I love this. Cool. So that way you're not forcing them to have your stupid tchotchke. I don't need another water bottle, but man, I'll take a nice little Patagonia hat. Absolutely, I will. And so that's what Alice does. But what they just did is they hired Dave Gerhardt. I don't know if you know him. Have you heard of him?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
They just hired him to help consult with them on their brand. And they're going to start by having a little kickoff with a webinar. And I was like, great play, man. I commented on the
brilliant. Yes.
I was like, look, he's a great name. He did great things with Drift. He's a badass. I saw him speak once. He shows up with like sweatpants and a hoodie and a water bottle. He's like, I just came from the gym. He's like Eminem of marketing. I'm going to just call it out. Right. So brilliant. He shows up and he's like, hey, what's up? Blah, 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 blah. And these people are just like astounded. There was actually a bunch of older folks in that meeting. So they're all just completely confused, but it was great. It was really great. So I can see them now saying, hey, Dave, you got your whole network. You got people that listen to you every day. You're an influencer. Tell us what we need to do. And in the meantime, we're just going to just love all this energy we get from just being involved with you.
Totally. And it's such a brilliant play. I'm so glad you have that example, because the time that you save and the money that I'm sure it's an expensive investment, but it pales in comparison to what it would take without that partnership and that credibility and authority and reach that they get. And more importantly, the opportunity cost of timing. How long would it take to penetrate that market and get credibility and buy-in and acceptance? And now instantly you can have that. And so this is where companies, especially, the larger you are, the more potential this has. But you, even on a small level, you can find people who are, having an influence, having an impact that you can work with and partner with. So brilliant example. Yeah, this is why companies need to do this. And the ones who do it now, the thing is, there's a limited supply of good influencers out there. And so you have to act now, because like Dave, he's working with Alice. Well, you can't work with him as a competitor right now, so you got to find those people and partner with them now, because there's a short supply of the really, truly great influencers.
Yeah. They'll get scooped up, right? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They get scooped up, and then what are you going to do? Yeah. Shout out to Greg Segal, founder, CEO, super badass. He's got an episode on here. If people are interested, they want to Google that one. That's the best way to find these episodes because there's so many. But then also Nick Bennett is a super influencer. See, shout out to Alice, because I didn't even think about this. Nick Bennett, I interviewed him because he is one of those guys who's connected to, do you know Nick? I can introduce
I've seen
you,
Nick's stuff on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like a massive influencer on LinkedIn. Like, I think 60,000 people following him, something insane. And he shared on the podcast, just, Google hardcore marketing and then Nick Bennett. He shared how he does it. And he just, and he's like, I'm not no one special. Like, I'm just a marketer at a regular company, or he was at the time. And I just make a discipline of sitting down and doing some LinkedIn and give. It's not about take. And
right.
So he, in my mind, he was one of the OG, or one of the original LinkedIn influencers. Guess what? Now he works at Alice. So now that I'm thinking about it, Alice is actually making the moves. First, Nick Bennett, probably some other people. And then now it's like, Dave, holy crap. I don't know how much more you can put. That's amazing.
Right. Absolutely. And that's very strategic. Like you said, this is not by accident, I'm sure. Very intentional. And kudos to them for having that foresight to see this is how you do it. Yeah. It's not hard. It's not complicated. It's just,
and it's not like it's a trick. Right, you're just getting people that know the customer better so you can serve them better.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's that customer proximity, getting close to the customer and getting those people who have those insights, who have those connections, who have that understanding. You can acquire that. We used to think of acquisition as just buying other companies because they have customers. Now this is almost like, people acquisition. I mean, it always has been, but you need to acquire people who have the skills, who have the insight, who have those connections. And you can do that. And too many companies aren't thinking from that perspective, but it's so much easier. And like I said, the timing, the time that you save is where the real savings is at.
Yeah. Love that, man. So cool. This has been such a great conversation. Tim, who are you, man? Take me back in time. I got to know how you know all these things. Did you grow up knowing, like, take me back to like little Tim. Did little Tim know he was going to be a marketing, really influencer, consultant to the stars, all these things? Did you know that? Or what was it like growing up?
Who am I? That's a question I've been asking for a long time, and I still don't have an answer. Yeah. No, as a kid, it's funny because as a kid, I was very into technology. I got my first computer when I was probably, 6 or 7 years old, learned to program at a very young age, but I was also interested in magic. And so, I developed a passion for magic from my dad, and I was in a magic club at a young age. And I thought, I was going to be a professional magician and that would be my career. And then it wasn't until I was, 12, 14, I realized, wait a second, if you're a magician, you work nights and weekends because that's when everyone has parties and events. And I said, that sucks. I'm not going to do that. That's terrible. So I don't want to work that hard. Okay. So I gave that.
Sorry, real quick. You were in a magic club?
I was in a magic club.
Was it SYM?
Cool. It was. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Society of Young Magicians.
Totally. Yeah. And I think it taught me so many things as a kid. I mean, I think magic is so cool, right? Because you just learn so many skills. You learn kind of public speaking, being in front of people. You learn how to think on your feet because, a trick goes wrong or someone does something you don't expect. And you learn the discipline of process of perfecting something because most people don't realize, I know, Casey, because you're into magic too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, most people don't realize that, like, magic trick, you have to learn the words to say and memorize those. Basically, you have to learn the moves of what you do. And then you have to put that all together and do both at the same time and react to whatever people do too. How do you misdirect people? How do you control the situation? So there's so many, I think, fundamental skills that taught me about life and about business and how to just be a person, around people, and give me the confidence to put myself out there. I'm a solopreneur. My company is just me. And so, putting yourself out there can be difficult, but magic taught me so much about that.
There's something about, we joked earlier, we're going to talk about 4 hours of marketing. So here it goes. But there's something about marketing for overcoming that, stage fright or the, fear of speaking in public, because if you're just speaking, you're probably worried about, fubbing your words or whatever. But when you're a magician, you're worried about like, I could do something that displays how I do this when the trick doesn't work, or they can see how I did it. And then they're like, you're a loser, get off the stage, or like,
yes, you're terrible.
We knew it wasn't real. So I'm not even thinking about like, am I going to screw up, or I'm thinking, okay, don't drop the thing, right? Or don't forget to flip the thing. Or they'll find me out. So it just kind of shifted your focus away from basic level of, fear to like more complicated. Okay, I got to get this trick right. And then you got to practice it to, perfect it.
It's so true. Yeah. Magic is like, I think one of the hardest hobbies because it exposes all those things you're talking about. And like, you really don't want to mess up. It's embarrassing. And it's happened to all of us who are in magic.
Yeah.
You don't forget those times because it's so disheartening. And that makes you, for the successful magicians, it makes you work even harder to practice even more and perfect it and prepare, an out if something goes wrong. But yeah, I mean, it's been one of the best skills I've developed, I think, in my life, because I still perform magic for clients when I meet them in person, at conferences and events, when I do networking. It opens up so many doors. And actually, a couple of weeks ago, I posted on LinkedIn about magic, and I had 2 people comment on there who I hadn't seen or talked to in 20 years. And both of them said something like, I remember the trick you did for me, and I still think about it. That's powerful. I can't think of a better networking tool or relationship building tool than that. I need to talk to these people if I haven't talked to them in 20 years, but the fact that they remember me and remember what I did goes to show the power of magic. What'd
you do? You have some favorite networking tricks?
Yeah. One of my favorite tricks is called Twisting the Aces, and it's a card trick, and you can Google it, Twisting the Aces. I think it's a Di Vernon trick originally, but basically you start with the 4 aces face down and you give them a twist, you spin them around. And as you do that, one turns face up. Then you repeat, the next one turns face up.
Oh man, that sounds good.
It's a good trick. Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, I've done it so good.
Probably thousands of times, right? Because what you realize is, and Seth Godin talks about this, the amateur magicians keep buying new tricks because they have a fixed audience, their friends and family. The professional magicians only do a couple tricks, but they do it to many different audiences. And so I've tried to become more of a professional magician where I only do a couple things. I do them really well, but I'll do them for clients and conferences and etc.
I like that. A couple tricks really well. Who said that quote?
Seth Godin talks about it. He talks about Penguin Magic, which I shouldn't expose here, but Penguin Magic is the site to buy magic. If you want to get started and check out magic, go to penguinmagic.com and find a good trick and buy it and learn it. And just pick one and stick with it and learn it and do it. It'll change your life.
Shout out to Penguin Magic. I'd never heard of those guys. This podcast can now also have another sponsor.
That's right. Penguin? I'm giving you a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, Penguin Magic. That's cool. Back in the day, I think they closed down. It was Hank Lee. Hank Lee.
I remember that. Yeah.
Remember that? Yeah. Did you ever do one of their conferences?
No, I haven't. Have you?
Yeah, it was Hank Lee's Magic. It was like it was like a magic conference. It was on Cape Cod, and they booked out a whole hotel. Imagine a whole hotel just full of magicians, even eating breakfast. Nerds. They're doing tricks on each other. And I was just a kid, but I was there. And then they had shows every day at night and in the daytime, in the morning. And then you would actually go to like conference lectures from different people. So I remember one on Top It and another one on like
Top It, man, that's crazy.
Oh, you remember that? Yeah. And there was another one. There's different names, and they did their thing, and they were literally teaching you, and you could buy their stuff afterward or whatnot. It was the coolest thing. Just going to. I don't think they still do those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, I'm really fortunate here in Orlando. We have some good magicians. So Michael Amar lives here down in Florida, which is pretty cool. I've met him in person. Kosha Kimlot, who was on Penn and Teller's show not that long ago, is here. I've seen him perform several times. And just, I think what people don't realize is when I talk about magic, I think when you're talking about magic, there's a difference between like stage magic and these big illusions and seeing the magic up close in front of you, with like cards or something, coins. And it's a world of difference. And when you see it right in front of you, it's just amazing, remarkable. If you have magic near you, go find it, go watch some good magic, because it is really cool to see. And it's amazing. It's hard because like when you know magic and how it works, nothing is really impressive. But when you see that one thing that you can't figure out, that just blows you away, you get kick back to being a layperson. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what is this world? I can't understand how it operates.
I wonder if you almost appreciate it more, right?
I
Because
think
you're
you
like,
do.
I know the 4 or 5 different things. You almost like the Penn and Teller, they try to figure it out. They're probably really stoked when they're like, you know what? That son of a bitch, I have no idea what he just did. Like, that's impressive. I know every single slight and this and that you would normally do. And you didn't do any of that. I was looking at, I don't know if you do this, but I'll look at the wrong spot.
Yes, exactly.
I'm waiting for like the wrong spot to be utilized. And I'm like, no, you didn't use that.
Well, have you ever seen Penn and Teller in person, their show?
I think they might've been at one of these conferences, because I feel like I have. I feel like I've seen them in person. And I'm not sure why, but no, have you?
Yeah, because I took my wife and I went to Vegas and I took her to Penn and Teller. I said, we have to go see them. I was never really a big fan of Penn and Teller for a long time. But recently I've become, I really understand them more, and I think I really appreciate them. So I went to their show, and, it's all the typical stuff. They make like an elephant disappear and, all sorts of stuff like that. But then at the end, or near the end, they called up a volunteer from the audience. And it was really interesting because they had this guy come up, he's a ball cap on, long hair, and he sits down, and Teller, the one who doesn't talk, hands him this camera and says, you hold the camera, you're going to be the eyes of the audience. And so he's holding the camera, and you can see the screen above him of what he's seeing. And so then Teller goes behind this wall, and his hands are reaching through the wall, doing different things. And they're fooling this guy because he doesn't know what's going on. You can see what's going on. And then at the end, the guy the audience member sitting up there with the camera, turns to the audience and takes off his ball cap and takes off his wig and starts untaking his jacket. And it was Teller the whole time. It was Teller. And I'm like, my mind just broke. I was like, I saw Teller there. This guy walked up. How is this Teller? And like, it wasn't an audience member. It was Teller in the audience. And I was like, how long has he been sitting there? I still to this day, I can't explain how it works. My mind is just completely broken. And like, that's what magic, I think, meant to be, like this disconnect of reality and imagination and what's possible. And it just boggles my mind. I'm completely speechless and clueless about what happened that day.
Oh, gotta love those moments when you just, you can't quite figure it out. So you realized that magic wasn't going to be the career, working weekends, working nights. So then it's off to school for computers.
Yeah, I went into software development, which, was something I was really good at and I really enjoyed at the time. And from there, I went into video game design development.
Wow.
Built a game, did some coding there, then got back into like government military simulation, which is basically video games, but 20 years in the past because they're so far behind.
Right.
Did that for a while, did web development. And then, I was working in web development, building products for companies. And I realized they don't have a product problem. They have a marketing problem. They're building really cool stuff, but no one cares and no one's hearing about it. And so I said, what am I doing with my life? Why am I helping write code for things that don't really matter if no one's going to hear about them? And so I thought, let me go into marketing and help these people get the users that they need, get the audience that they need. And so that really got me into marketing. And I found that the technology background, marketing today is synonymous with technology. So that really has helped me tremendously understand and communicate. And then the magic side of it, people and how people think and how they act, that's all that marketing is understanding customer psychology and getting people to do things or look in certain places and not look other places. So combining those two has been wonderful for myself and for my career, and just something I really enjoy. Marketing is the perfect marriage of all the things I've been good at and really been passionate about. So I love it.
Man, that interesting comparison to marketing and magic. And I think there's the classic thing of marketers are trying to fool people, or magicians are trying to fool people. But I don't know if you recall, but for me, it was never really about fooling people. It's kind of about making them smile.
Absolutely.
Kind of about making their day.
Totally, about an experience. And I think that's what we try to do in marketing, is deliver a memorable, unforgettable, enjoyable experience. Yeah. And that's what real magic is about. You're right. It's not about, I'm smarter than you, look at me, I fooled you.
Right.
I mean, some marketers take that approach, some magicians take that approach, but not the ones that last for a long time. It really is about, we're in this together. Let me share this and let me leave you with a smile on your face. I love the Zig Ziglar quote that says, if you see someone without a smile, give them yours. And I think that's really what magic and what marketing should be about.
Man, you're just so cool. Video game designer, magician, marketer.
Oh, I can juggle too.
Talk a little bit about what you're doing now. You're consulting with folks. For a lot of the marketers listening, who's a right fit to work with you, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So I'm an advisor to global marketing executives of big teams typically, but I work with companies of all size. And I like to say I help them transform their marketing team from chaos and insignificant growth to a real high performance team with reliable processes that consistently deliver record-breaking growth and results. And as you've heard so far, there's a lot of fundamental issues within teams. And I believe that it really is about fundamentals. And so if you have a team of any size and you feel like you don't have the fundamentals in place, or you feel like there's opportunity to improve that, I can help you do that. That's what I do with my clients every day. In addition, the next level beyond that is experimentation and pushing growth even further. And a lot of my clients, especially the bigger ones, are looking for that. How do we develop a process of innovation, of testing, of experimentation, this test and learn approach, to get better results from what we're doing and to find new opportunities. And so I have a whole process I've created called test-driven marketing, which is a strategic approach to testing and experimentation. And I truly believe that, once you get your fundamentals in place, you have your processes, the next step is experimentation. You have to test, because it's like being in a maze, right? Like if you want to get from point A to point B, you have to find all the ways that don't work in order to get out the exit. You can't just, there's no silver bullet that just leads you straight through to the end. And so you have to test. Your industry is different. Your audience is different. Your services and products are different. You have to find what works for you. And it's a moving target because marketing is always changing. So if you have fundamental process issues, if you have a team that could improve, or if you want to reach new levels of growth, those are the things I help my clients do.
Man, one thing that you said really stuck out, the idea of consistently delivering growth. I think oftentimes we test something and something cool happens, but then next quarter we're kind of back to, like you said, every day feels different. Every quarter feels different. But the idea of being consistent in delivering that growth, that's really the game changer. Being consistent in delivering innovation, not just you hit your head, you created a flux capacitor, yippee. No. We need Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3. So you got to deliver every time. That's where the real magic is, I think.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Casey, because this is why CMO's tenure is so short, right? They're brought in to fix things, quote unquote, and then they can't in a short time frame. We need to think long term, but we need to act short term. And I think consistency is a big part of that. And too often, like right now, a good example, a lot of my clients are seeing huge success on TikTok. That's wonderful. That's great. Is TikTok the answer? No. Is it a silver bullet? Absolutely not. And next year, it won't be the new cool hip thing. I think we're going to see a new social network this year. Just spoiler alert.
What's it called?
I don't know. We'll find out.
What's it rhyme with?
But I think, TikTok is only going to last so long. And we put all of our eggs in one basket, and we don't develop a process of continuing to improve our processes, our performance, our innovation, our testing capabilities. We need to do that. Like you said, consistency and predictability are two of the biggest missing elements in most marketing organizations.
Yeah, 100%. Well, now I need to throw a hypothetical at you, because I may or may not have a time machine up here in New Hampshire. So you come visit, right? It's cold now. You might freeze unless you know how to ski. You come visit at some point in the summer, get some lobster, get some beer. You get to use the time machine, right? And it's a particular kind of time machine. It takes you back in time, and you get to meet yourself a few days after graduation, a few days after that IT degree, before you've maybe made some of the jumps and leaps to all the different path that you've taken so far. You get to talk to that version, that Tim. What kind of things would you tell him? Would you give advice or recommendations? What would you say?
There's this really interesting interview with one of my heroes, Bill Murray, and he talks about this drunken call he gets in the middle of the night. And I believe it's his sister or his sister-in-law or something to that effect. And she's just rambling, to him. And he's like, this call wasn't meant for me. And she says something. She says, Bill, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but it's, Bill, you have no idea how far you could go and what you'd accomplish if you only tried. And I think that's the advice I would give to myself, going back in time. And hearing that video, listening to that, it gives me chills every time, because it's just remarkable advice that I think we all need to hear. So much of what we do personally and professionally, we doubt ourselves. We're told by, what's around us, social media, the competition, colleagues, our bosses, that we can't do it, that we're not equipped, that we don't have the skills. You have to believe in yourself. Yeah. My mentor says the first sale is to yourself. And if you can do that, if you can really believe that anything is possible, that you can do it, you could figure it out. We have access today to all the information, all the YouTube and Google and all that. It's not a matter of knowing what to do or how to do it. It's a matter of truly believing in yourself. And where I've come from where I started is a remarkable journey. And, I'm highly successful, and that's all wonderful. But we all need that to keep going farther. And if I had known that, if I had believed that much sooner, I can't imagine where I'd be today. And so I think that we all need to just embrace that it is about self-esteem and self-worth and self-belief, that we're all capable of so much. And you listening to this, you can do so much more than you're doing right now if you just believed in yourself and took action. So sorry to be a little bit woo here, but I really believe that this is paramount to all of us, to our success. And even professionally, in your marketing team, your team can do a lot more, if you only believed it was possible. Don't have a limited mindset. It's killing you. You're personally, professionally, in your performance.
That we always have that. We're familiar with the fear of success, or the fear of failure, but it's that fear of success. I think sometimes we're always worried about other people trying to get in our way, but we often don't get in our own ways more. I've done this plenty of times. The idea of, what if I do try my best and it doesn't work? Does that mean something about me? And so, in which case, I'm just only going to give it 50%. So if it doesn't work, well, hey, I didn't quite give it all. So it's not me lacking. It's just the situation. But you gotta get out of that mode, right? Hey, I love that quote though. If you only tried, amazing things. And to have your drunk sister tell you that, what a moment.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to think, when I was young and naive, I quit my job to start a business, and my parents were scared for me. And I didn't even think about it. I was young and naive. It was just whatever. When my wife and I were first married, we started traveling every year internationally. We did it for many years until, we had our daughter. And we were young and thought, why not? And now looking back, those are two defining moments in my life that, we didn't think about what could go wrong or is this the right idea? We just did it. And, we didn't have the opportunity to hesitate. And I think too often, to your point, we put up all these walls around ourselves. Well, I can't do this, or I'm not ready yet, or we don't have the people to do this, or now is not the right time. Just do it. Believe in yourself, believe in what's possible. We have so much opportunity, and here in the Western world, we're so privileged. We have so much privilege that we don't realize. So just, take advantage of what you have and don't overlook it, and don't stop yourself. Don't say no for someone else, on your behalf. Give yourself that opportunity and just say yes and do it.
Yeah. Normally we have regrets for not doing things, more 9 times out of 10, it's because we didn't do something. So yeah, go for it.
Absolutely.
Go for it. What more can you accomplish and get done? Amazing. Good stuff, man. Well, dude, where can people connect with you? Because they're probably dying right now. They forgot. They just clicked on the links already. They're already there. They're already looking at your website. But like, what platforms can people go to? Where do you want them to reach out? What websites? All that.
Yeah, thank you. 3 things. One, my website, timparkin.com. You can find me there, contact me, see all the articles I've written for, contributed to Adweek, Ad Age, Inc., TechCrunch, Forbes, all that good stuff. Second, LinkedIn. I'm posting there almost daily. Check me out on LinkedIn. A lot of great stuff. Would love to connect and provide value there. But third, most importantly, I have what I call my vault, which is access to all my videos, templates, worksheets, playbooks, all my intellectual property. Anything I've done, and this is the stuff I share with my clients as well. And it's free. There's no sales pitch. There's nothing to buy. And if you just text the word GROW to 844-311-3200, you'll get free access to all that stuff. I keep adding to it, every month or so. So would love to share.
What is that again?
GROW, text the word GROW to 844-311.
God, you're so fast, man. I know people can rewind, but okay,
844-311.
Okay.
3200.
All right. There we go. Sweet. So you text that, and then it'll give you a link, and it'll get you access to
the vault. So ask for your email, put in your email, it'll send you the link to all that good stuff.
Sweet. All right, man, I'm in. And we'll put information on that down in the show notes for everyone else. Such a cool time, man. Thank you so much for coming on here. I literally had a blast. I feel like we'll probably have to have you come back in a little bit, and we'll check in and we'll just talk magic. We'll have a magic special. We'll put a warning on the title. It should be like, no, we're just talking magic today. Or maybe we'll just talk magic and marketing the whole time. I don't know. But wonderful. Tim, man, I really appreciate you coming on here.
Wonderful conversation. Super enjoyable, Casey, and much needed. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. For those listening, if you learned something, and I freaking know you did because I have front and back notes over here, and I literally ran out of space probably an hour in, and I'm in the margins, I'm in the side, I have no space left on this paper, but I've learned a ton from Tim today. So if you have to share this episode with someone else, that's how you are a thought leader to one person, 2 people, 300 people. Just get great information like what Tim was talking about with step 0, the RACI chart. Man, we finally learned about it. OKRs. Maybe it was your first time. Maybe it was a refresher. Upskilling your team, pair programming, Notion. Shout out to those guys. So much great stuff here. Share this episode with someone else, and then they will thank you forevermore. And with that,
and
Tim.
Casey, also, thanks, one last thing.
If
you're listening to this, stop, go right now and leave a 5-star review on this podcast. Casey does one of the best podcasts on marketing here, has amazing guests, and does a wonderful job of pulling out all these insights. So I know all the hard work that goes into this. And if you've enjoyed listening to this, which if you're listening now, you have, stop right now, go and leave a 5-star review. Casey deserves it, would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. And it'll help more people hear this valuable content.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, you can come back anytime if you're going to say that at the end of every show, for sure.
Always.
Well, dude, this has been awesome. And for everyone out there, this has been another exciting episode of the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will catch you all next time.